기자부대, Hamon the beat!
In August of 2021, JoJolands, the 8th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, ended after 10 years of publishing in Ultra Jump. In the same issue, we received confirmation of the beginning of the next part, tentatively titled JoJolands. It was said that after a hiatus, Part 9 would begin at an unknown date. So far, we know absolutely nothing about JoJolands other than its title. Regardless, people have been speculating about future parts of JoJo as long as I can remember. You'll always see theories out there about what the next protagonist will be like or where the story will take place. In this video, I'll be going over my thoughts as to how the story of JoJo will continue in the next part. The first and foremost thing everyone talks about when it comes to a new JoJo part is the new protagonist. The shifting protagonist for each part is one of the most iconic things about JoJo after all. While there's no way anyone could actually guess everything about the new JoJo, there's always people who think they've cracked the code or found some kind of pattern as to what it may be. One of the most popular theories is that the next protagonist will be a counterpart to Giorno, following up the Josuke we just got. Or that it will be the novel idea of twin JoJos, perhaps a boy and a girl representing Jolene and Giorno. Josuke was a clear Part 4 parallel based on his name, but his role as a child of Holly who's trying to save her also puts him in Jotaro's shoes. So it is a possibility that the next two JoJos will be drawn on for the new protagonist as well. However, I wouldn't get too caught up in this idea since really anything can happen. Part 7 and 8 had plenty of completely original characters with no clear reference to the old universe. For all we know, the next JoJo could be the same. We also have to think about what the lineage of the next JoJo will be. This is tough to say, since the lineage of Josuke in Part 8 is probably the most complex character origin we've gotten in the series so far. Some take the simple route and say the next JoJo will be the child of Josuke and Yasuho, or maybe their grandchild. Others think we'll see something totally different. On the Joestar family tree, we have a ton of unseen branches coming from Johnny and Joseph. We could have potentially dozens of different people out there with Joestar blood that could be another protagonist. There's also the setting of the part. This is one aspect of Part 9 we have at least some semblance of information on. There's a few different ideas based on what source you choose to lean towards. First, back in 2007, Araki mentioned Morio in an interview, saying he planned on drawing it again in Parts 8 and 9. This is definitely interesting since it may indicate that we'll see Morio again, but it may have just been Araki being vague and not giving away which part would actually feature Morio. Next, we have a statement from 2016 in response to a question of settings he'd like to depict in future stories. Araki says that he wants to visit Northern Europe as well as the Scottish Highlands and feature them in a story. Araki has been known to do some location scouting for future parts. He went to Egypt before Part 3, he has visited Italy numerous times, and he even visited a prison in Florida to study for Part 6. So it's very possible that Araki is visiting this next location between Parts 8 and 9. However, this answer is nothing definitive, since for all we know, Araki could write a spin-off featuring this location or do something else after JoJo. Finally is an answer from his panel at Luca Comics and Games 2019. Someone asked Araki if after JoJolands we would see a part that takes place in Italy. In response, Araki says that he'd have to do some research beforehand, but that he'd try. Many took this as complete confirmation of Part 9 being set in Italy. However, since this interview took place in Italy, and the question was somewhat leading, I think he could have just been acting polite. Now, if I had to guess as to what the setting of JoJolands would be, I'd take a look at the title. After all, JoJolands' title had an important meaning in the story. If I had to guess, Part 9 will take place in multiple locations, similar to the globe-trotting seen in Part 3. At the end of Part 8, Josuke mentions that the Rokakaka may still exist in the islands to the south. This is most likely referring to the island of New Guinea, where the fruit is thought to originate. So it's possible that JoJolands could be an island-hopping adventure around the southwestern Pacific. Next we have the potential plot points that could reappear. Araki has said all the way back in 2004 that he has the general story outline of each part planned up to Part 9. In JoJolion, we saw certain things continued from Steel Ball Run, such as the fates of certain characters and their descendants, as well as the expanding of the supernatural aspects of the world, such as the Devil's Palms and the Golden Ratio. I expect the same to be true for JoJolands. Some things I'd like to see are a follow-up to the Kingdom of Naples from Part 7, as well as the Zeppeli family. At the end of Steel Ball Run, we learned that the monarchy was abolished and that it became a republic. After this, the Zeppeli family moved away to another country. Maybe this unknown country is where we'll see another Zeppeli enter the story. Also, the Kingdom of Naples was well known for its use of spin, so we may see that ability make its return in some way after the brief reappearance in Part 8. There's also the future stories of the Higashikata family and Josuke himself. Since we learned some of what happened to Johnny in Part 8, we could see something like that here. We could also learn about the future of characters like Tsurugi now that his life isn't controlled by the curse. There's also mysterious characters like Carrera who still wanted to find a Rokakaka fruit. Since we know that there are still fruits out there, she could turn up looking for one. We also have the introduction of the Speedwagon Foundation in this new universe. Back in Part 7, there was a passing mention of a Speedwagon oil company, but in Chapter 99 of JoJolion, we see that they've taken on a role similar to the original, with Lucy Steele working for them. We also learned that the Joseph Joestar of this universe met Suzy Q by working there. In the family tree of Part 8, Joseph was shown to not be dead yet, so it's possible that we'll see some crossover between Josuke and Joseph in a flashback of some kind. The end of JoJolion left Holly still in a coma, and with no fruit left in Morio, there's no immediate way to cure her. Since Holly is Joseph's daughter, this may be the thing that draws him and Josuke together. This also makes me wonder about the time period of JoJolands. Most JoJo parts take place a small time after the previous. In the most extreme cases like parts 4 and 5, they can just be a couple of years apart. However, JoJolion was unprecedented by having the story take place over 100 years after Steel Ball Run. For all we know, JoJolands could take another huge leap forward like that. However, it's also possible that we'll get a smaller gap than expected, and have a part that acts more like a follow-up. There's also even the possibility of a prequel, something we'd never seen before, maybe involving Joseph, who we got a brief glimpse of at the end of Part 8. We also have the expansion of the supernatural abilities of this universe. Part 8 did a ton of world building when it came to the ideas of flow and calamity, as well as the relation between spin and stands. I think JoJolands could do something similar with all the concepts that Part 8 introduced, such as the Rokakaka, the Rock Humans, and the Blessings from the Earth. Between Parts 7 and 8, we got the Devil's Palms and the Walleyes, so a new blessing is likely to appear here. Rock Humans were also a new addition for Part 8. It would be interesting to see what the current state of Rock Humans is after the failed plan from JoJolion. It's possible that we could see something like a Rock Human ally this time around. Finally, the Rokakaka is probably the thing we're most likely to see. JoJolion didn't tell us the fruit's true origins, so similar to the Stand Arrow or Stone Mask, we may learn about it in a future part. As someone who is super interested in those kinds of topics, I'm definitely excited to see what JoJolands may have in store. As of now, we don't have any confirmation of when JoJolands will release. When accepting the Iwate Hometown Special Manga Award in December, Araki mentioned that he was hard at work making Part 9. He also announced a new Thus Spoke Kashibe Rohan chapter coming in March, with the release of the JoJo magazine. We've recently learned that the chapter is titled Hot Summer Martha. We've also gotten a brief glimpse of Araki working on this project in a recent TV spot. So since he's working on that currently, I wouldn't expect to see anything about JoJolands until at least after March. There's also the new spin-off manga Crazy Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak, starring Josuke and Whole Horse. This is written and illustrated by people other than Araki, and it's currently being published in Ultra Jump, where Steel Ball Run and JoJolion had been. So I wonder if JoJolands will end up waiting to start until after this manga is finished, to avoid two ongoing JoJo series being in the same magazine. That's everything I can think of so far when it comes to JoJolands. I'll definitely be making a video going over any news that comes out about it, so keep up with the channel if you want to see those. If you want to be updated on new videos or leave suggestions, join the Hamon Beat Discord using the link in the description. To receive rewards like Discord perks and some uncut videos, you can support the channel on Patreon. And finally, for future videos, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Tony, the Owl God, Keo, Alex Ramirez, Raziana, Doorbell, Cloudy, Monkman, Ashton Joseph Miller, Crayon, Jesper Jansen, Rigo Vids, Zucato, Shane Giger, Sentai, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Bailey Smile, Ali, Almighty Quarth, Oof, PBA SVG, Cowrie, JoJo Agogo, and Toby Nocturne.